You might be wonder at the level of having to save our selection. I said, how do we save that selection, right? The last video. So you have two ways to do it. One is to go in select, save selection right here. That allows you to name it. You can call it wrench right here, new channel, and it goes into this channel palette right here. You'll see that is indicated with black and white. Another way to do it is by clicking on here, right? If you click on here having an active selection, it will save it again, but this time it does not allow you to name it. You can obviously always name it by clicking on the name and typing wrench 1, right? Because we already have wrench. Now you notice that when I clicked on here, it also switched to this black and white image. This is what this is about, by the way. I'm going to actually explain it better. So right now I'm going to go back to the RGB. That means a red, green, and blue composite. You can see that there's nothing there because I haven't added any color yet. But what I wanted to show you is that if I right now do Command D and deselect it, because it's stored in here, if I want it back, I have two ways to get it back. One is to go in select, load the selection. Instead of save, we're going to say load. And then you can go in there and say, I want to load wrench or wrench 1. And you say, okay. And you can see you get your marching ants back ready to have color applied to it. So that's one way to go. And the other way to go is using this tool instead, that is the load selection tool. So if I do Command D and I don't want to go through the top menu, I can basically click on here and actually, sorry, let me, first you have to activate the channel. So let me go in here and then click on here and you can see that now I have my selection. It's tricky because it's a black and white and so you at first don't see it, but if you go in the RGB, there it is. Now, why is it black and white though? Let me actually Command D to deselect and go back in here. So in Photoshop, every time you see in the channels and in other things, we'll talk about it later, also when we're doing masks, it will come back. Every time you see white means fully visible, fully selected. So everything that is white, whenever you apply the color, white in the selection, whenever you apply the color in, whenever you're in the RGB, the red, green, and blue combo image, it will apply color. Everywhere where you see white in the selection, the color will go in there. Versus every time you see black, it means it's masked out. So to give you an example, if I kind of go and load the selection, then I go in the RGB and I pick a really cool color, like a blue, because blue-gray, that's kind of what wrenches are, right? Kind of more like a bluish gray color, like something like maybe like this. Too pale. All right, let's go with this. So if I want to add color, do you remember earlier I showed you the shortcut? I'm going to go first and foremost into the layers right here. I'm going to add a layer. Do you remember when I told you don't do things on the background? Make sure everything you add, you want to have it on a separate layer because it's easier later on to edit it. So I already have my layer 1. If I do Option Delete or Edit Fill, as you can see, the blue goes in the area that in the channel or in the save selection option right here was in white, right? So my point is that whenever you see white, you really need to think of the fact that it means that you have that area selected, visible. Whenever you put content, it goes in that area. Wherever you see black means it's masked out. It's something that is going to be invisible, whatever you do with it. So that's kind of something we introduced today. We're going to go a lot deeper into it. Also in channels, I want to show you that right now we are in the red, green, and blue combo image. It means is the image that is exactly how it's going to print or output for web. It means it shows all the colors. But also you have a component of red, green, and blues. These are all grayscale. And this shows how much red, how much green, and how much blue is in the image. The lighter is the grayscale, the more of that color is present. Indeed, if we go in the RGB, you can see that this is a blue color. But if you go in the grayscale images of blue, green, and red that show the amount that is there, the lightest one is the blue. In fact, if I go and paint in pure blue, so let me go in here, double click, and pure blue, by the way, is red 0, green 0, And 255 is the maximum I can actually have in red, green, and blue. For each of these, 255 is the maximum color I can use. So if I say okay right now, and I go with a brush tool, for example, and do a doodle in blue, in pure blue, you can see that in the blue channel, it doesn't even exist. Why? Because it shows us white, and we have a white background. Why does it show us white? Because it means that blue is fully visible. So in the blue channel that shows the blue that is fully, the blue component, the maximum blue will show as white, and that's why I don't see it. But in the green, it shows as black. It means there's no green in that doodle. In this shape, there's no green, nor there is red. So it means black means is not present, is not there. White means is fully there. So for this blue channel, because this is 100% blue, is the pure blue, in the RGB is the 255, the maximum blue you can have. In the blue channel, it shows as white, pretty much. I know it sounds maybe kind of tricky to understand, but I promise you'll understand it better later. So what I want you to do for now is kind of a little bit have a sense of what are we talking about, and we'll keep hammering on it. So I'm going to go actually on the combo, and I do not want this, and I unfortunately put it in the same layer of my wrench. That's why I generally tell you create a new layer. So I'm going to go with the marquee tool, select it right here, and hit delete. That means I'm removing that blue. So Command D. Perfect. So right now I have my wrench. What else do I want to do? I'm going to actually copy this wrench right here by dragging on the plus sign. And then I'm going to use the arrow key, shift arrow. Sorry, first of all, I'm going to put it behind. I'm going to command click to load the selection. Remember, you could also have loaded it through the channels. Command click on the thumbnail of the channel or of the layers. If you command click on that thumbnail, it will load the selection. So now I'm going to actually give it a dark color, like a dark gray color. Something that looks like is kind of like the wrench, but is the background side of the wrench. Let me explain in the middle why, what I mean. So I'm going to give it some color like that. And I'm going to do again, Option Delete. Now you're not seeing much because it's hidden by layer 1. So I'm going to make layer 1 invisible, do Option Delete. So you can see I have this dark color. Now I can Command D, so deselect it. And I'm going to actually turn on layer 1 and use the Move tool. V is the shortcut. And then Shift arrow keys. So I'm basically moving my wrench to look like is I'm trying to create a 3-dimensional wrench, right? So this is kind of looks more 3D. I still have a little problem right here because these areas need to be filled. So I'm going to use for that this beautiful tool that is called the polygonal lasso. The polygonal lasso allows you to click, 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 and click to close a shape. And then you can go on that layer 1, knowing that you have the right color, and do Option Delete. You're filling it, and then Command D. Then you can go back and let me actually choose New Selection. This earlier was an add to the selection. It still worked, but I'm doing the same thing right here. Click, 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 Option Delete. So now if you look, Command Deselect, if you look at this shape, it looks like this, right? But if I activate the top, it looks like a perfect 3D wrench. That is what I want you to do. Also, I want you to hold the Shift key that allows you to add to selection and click on this layer. So now I have these 2 layers selected. And if you link them together, you can move them together. And what I mean here is, if I have only layer 1 and I do Command T that allows you to transform this wrench, it will only move 1. But I actually want to move them together. So I'm going to hit ESC key, the top left on the keyboard. And I'm going to actually shift click these 2 layers and hold this little and click on this little link. Now when I do Command T, it allows me to turn both together. And I'm going to hit return, Command 0 to zoom out, Command semicolon to hide the guides, V tool to move my wrench right here. And then I'm going to write the word wrench up here to give you one more piece to worry about, in quote. I'm joking. I'm going to click the T tool and I'm going to type wrench in capital letter. Command A to select it, Command T to choose the font, and I'm going to choose up here, you see is what it showed up when I did Command T, and I'm going to choose Arial Black. Right here, I'm going to type Arial Black should be here somewhere, because it's nice and thick. Let me even use Arial Bold, it's okay. And I'm going to make it nice and big, like 48. Oops, shoot. I did not realize I was actually typing on here. I thought I was typing up here. So let's try again. Wrench. Let me go in here and choose Arial Black. So you're supposed to actually, when you click on here, change the font, but somehow I didn't pay attention enough to see that I was changing the text on the screen. Let me do Arial. Unfortunately, I don't have Arial Black, strangely enough. And then I want to actually make it nice and big, like 48. Boom, 48. Finally. Oh, I still have Myriad Pro. I hate that. Sorry, it seems to not want to change things, but that's okay. We'll make it work, right? Arial, that sounds good. And instead of regular, let's do bold, since I know I don't have black. This is big enough. Now, I don't like the color. I'm going to make it kind of a nice bright orange. I don't like the typeface either, though. I don't know why. Don't ask me. I'm a bugger about typefaces. But anyway, you just make a big font. Even that will do. What I'm trying to teach you here is not only just to create type, but if you double click on the blank space on the type layer, it will allow you to bring in this thing called layer style. And the layer style, what I'm trying to show you here is also allows you to create bevel and emboss in there, drop shadow in there. And obviously if you click on here, you can choose the distance of the drop shadow. You can choose the color of the drop shadow. You get the spread of it. So these are called layer styles. So you can kind of create that text to be much more interesting than it would be otherwise. You can give it a stroke, you can give it a texture, you can give it a gradient, you can do all kind of fun stuff. But for now, let me just say okay. So as you can see, you have a 3D wrench, you have a semi 3D text. The last thing I would do is probably go on the background, unlock it by double clicking, and then do Command A that selects it all. You can see marching ants all around, and find some really cool, fun color that we can put as the background. Like I love purples, deep eggplants or something, but anything would do. So at that point, we can, once you have the color, you can do like, Option Delete, as you know, and then we can just call it done. Command D to deselect, and always File, Save. So, and then call it wrench. The reason why I showed you this wrench is to show you how you can use selections, shapes like the marquee and the rectangular shape, how you can use different options up here for the selection if you want to create a new one, if you want to add, how you can use the channels to save that selections, and then obviously how you can use multiple layers that you can rotate together, and then finally how you can add text. And to that text, you can assign styles that are beautiful because you can also turn them off. Like say you go to a client and they don't like it, you can just click on that little eye and that style is turned off. And you can obviously assign multiple style to an object, even to this wrench. If I wanted to, I could have gone to the layer of the wrench right here. And same thing, I could have double clicked and say I want it to be more bevel and emboss. I wanted to have this or that. So just to let you know that you can do all kind of fun stuff is a great start in Photoshop. I think this is a cool exercise to start Photoshop. And then we'll obviously go into photographs and all the other things later on. But you can fly solo and also create art in Photoshop. Another thing I love to do is also draw, teach how to use brushes and things like that, that I don't know if we'll make it in this class, but definitely the 183 goes into that. All right, bye-bye.